From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Heavy rain is still falling at this hour, causing some flooding concerns. Good evening to you at 11 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starrentino. We start tonight with meteorologist Kyle Mounts with a WRTV Storm Team alert.
Yeah, Mark and Amanda, we have had rumbles of thunder and some heavy rain already this evening, and that continues. The heaviest of the rain lifting a little bit to the north right now, but it's going to continue to fill in for us. You can see some rumbles of thunder here north of Anderson through much of Hamilton County as well. Nothing severe out there, and we don't anticipate severe weather. It's really about the rainfall here tonight as we are looking at these showers and storms moving over many of the same locations. Even as we go into the overnight, you see this band of heaviest rain near I-70, and that's why we're looking at an additional 1 to 2 inches, possibly more, of rainfall in parts of central Indiana. We've already got some saturated ground out there, so that could cause some flooding issues. You want to make sure that you avoid any of that standing water, as rain chances will linger into tomorrow morning. Mild temperatures, though, with numbers in the 60s.
There have been a lot of complaints and questions about the state of downtown Indianapolis since the start of the pandemic. Some people say after canceled events, remote work and business restrictions, the atmosphere took a turn for the worse. WRTV's Cameron Riddle found an effort to make the heart of the city feel welcoming again, and it's already making a difference.
There have been days this year when downtown Indianapolis looked like a ghost town, filled with unwelcome smells and public safety concerns.
There was just this vacuum downtown of people. There's no workers, there's no normal visitors to downtown down here. So it started getting taken over by some of the seedier elements, and they started coming down and taking advantage of the homeless people.
Doug Stevenson owns the comic book store on Monument Circle. He says in June and July there were days that he described the area as out of control. Illegal activity was never far away, making customers feel unsafe. That on top of the smell from the city streets being used as a restroom. But several weeks later, improvements are noticeable. Monument Circle feels and even smells different after a focused effort from Downtown Indy Inc. to clean the heart of the city.
The Downtown Recovery Committee came together and said, remember when we were called the cleanest downtown in the nation? Let's commit to that.
Thanks to Downtown Indy Inc., safety ambassadors and additional police officers now patrol the areas of Monument Circle, Market Street, and Georgia Street. Roads and sidewalks are now power washed regularly by DPW. All of it arranged or paid for by Downtown Indy Inc.
All of that was done and continues to be done to say downtown is clean and safe and beautiful, and we're working on the vibrancy as we try to come back in measured ways.
Both Downtown Indy Inc. and business owners want to make it clear that homelessness was not the sole cause for the changes we saw downtown this summer. They say much of the problems were surrounded with mental health issues. Stevenson hopes the effort being put into downtown encourages visitors to come back downtown.
It's absolutely gotten better. Things started turning the corner at the end of July, and now we've got we've got the cleanliness, the sanitation factor under control. The safety is a million times better.
Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
The improvements made by Downtown Indy Inc. were funded with $750,000 from the city of Indianapolis back in August. The money was approved by the Metropolitan Development Commission and administered by the Capital Improvement Board.
While much of the focus on economic recovery has been on downtown Indianapolis, businesses in every corner of the city are suffering through the pandemic. There's a new grant program specifically for small businesses on the Far East Side. Minority, immigrant, and women-owned businesses with between 1 and 10 employees are eligible to apply. The owners of 2 Far East Side businesses, Kingdom Cleaners and Ms. Marcia's Sweets, tell WRTV they feel like their community has been forgotten.
Grants would help not only Miss Marcia's Sweets, but it would also help build up this plaza here. It would also build up the community.
I can go home and sleep. I can go home and sleep for at least a couple of nights, you know what I mean? Instead of going home and worrying about how I'm going to pay these bills.
Grant recipients will receive up to $5,000. The money can be used for things like rent, payroll, and operating expenses. The deadline to apply is this weekend. And for more information, go to WRTV.com and click on this story. And more grant money is available for live music venues across Marion County. Today, Mayor Joe Hogsett announced a second round of funding for the Music City's Strategy Recovery Program. You can apply at musicfamilytree.org. The due date is October 30th.
Tonight, Indiana's candidates for governor debated the issues for the first time with Election Day now 2 weeks away. Governor Eric Holcomb, Democrat Woody Myers, and Libertarian Donald Rainwater answered questions from separate areas as a COVID precaution. The handling of the pandemic took center stage during the debate, specifically Governor Holcomb's mask mandate.
The reality is that there is no one-size-fits-all solution to anything, and there is no if you do this, you will be protected, because this is a virus, and you can only do what is easiest and best for you to protect yourself. So the reality is the one thing that we do know is that the Constitution is there to protect our individual liberties and make those choices for ourselves.
Yes, we do need a real mask mandate in Indiana, a mask mandate with consequences for the small percentage of Hoosiers who choose not to protect themselves or protect others. It's very similar to what we did years ago when we told people that you couldn't light up a cigarette anywhere you wanted to light it up. You had to go into an area where it wasn't going to hurt other people. It was also similar to the decisions that we made to putting your kids in a car seat. It's very important to protect their safety and to protect the safety of others.
Our individual liberty needs to be guarded. When that liberty or those actions start to infringe on someone else, that's where we have to take a look at the public safety. It's just like a seatbelt. It's just like wearing shoes in a restaurant. It's just like fire codes. They're meant for safety procedures. We're in an emergency, a public health emergency, so that we do have a state mandated mask requirement throughout the state. It's a strong statement that says this works.
Governor Holcomb first issued a statewide mask mandate back in July. No penalties are included in the order.
One difference you'll notice between the presidential debates and Indiana's gubernatorial debate is the presence of a third-party candidate. In early September, a Change Research and Indy Politics survey had Donald Rainwater at 24%. That number has decreased in recent polls, but libertarians are celebrating Rainwater's spot on the stage with Holcomb and Myers. We talked to Rainwater, who visited supporters at a watch party right after the debate.
Again, I believe this really does illustrate that Hoosiers want their state back. They want individual freedom, and they want government of the people, by the people, for the people.
Rainwater's popularity has gotten attention of the National Libertarian Party. Tonight's watch party was hosted by the party's vice presidential candidate, Spike Cohen. WRTV's Cornelius Hawker spoke with Cohen about his party, not just here in Indiana, but across the country, and what they're aiming for in this unprecedented election.
In a Southside Indianapolis tavern, Libertarian candidate for Vice President Spike Cohen met supporters eager to hear him talk about his and Joe Jorgensen's run for the White House.
As the American people become increasingly frustrated with the Republicans and Democrats and have seen what they've done with their exclusive control of every lever of power of government in this country for the last 160 years, they're increasingly looking for other options.
Cohen tells me libertarians are not just another third party or a different set of politicians, but rather a different way of looking at how government interacts with people.
We believe that people do best when they are the most free, and the American people increasingly realize that that is the case.
But both major parties have warned a vote for a libertarian could split the vote and cause their candidate, Trump or Biden, to lose. That's their plan, according to Cohen.
We have a very devious plan to take votes from Joe Biden and Donald Trump, thereby causing them both to lose and for Joe Jorgensen and myself to win.
While the chances of a third-party win is slim, Cohen tells me this is a long-game plan to give Americans more than two choices when it comes to their political affiliation.
However well we do, we'll do better than we've ever done before. That's been true for several election cycles now. The Libertarian Party does better each cycle, both at the presidential level and in down-ballot races. We're seeing it now with the fact that Donald Rainwater is increasingly likely to be the next governor of Indiana, the first Libertarian governor.
Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
And you can find our entire conversation with Cohen on our website at WRTV.com. In 2016, Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson got a 4.9% of the vote in Indiana.
We are learning more about an Amber Alert you probably noticed on your phone not too long ago. The Huntington Police Department says 5-year-old Navia O'Neill is believed to be in extreme danger. She was last seen around 8:15 tonight in Huntington, that is south of Fort Wayne. According to the Amber Alert, the suspects in this case were seen driving a gold Ford Ranger pickup truck. If you have any information or notice anything, you need to call 911. And tomorrow, state officials are scheduled to give their weekly update on the pandemic. The number of hospitalizations continues to grow. 1,425 COVID patients are in the hospital across Indiana. According to the latest update, just over 36% of ICU beds are available. The 7-day positivity rate among unique individuals is 12.4%, and 48 additional deaths were reported between October 8th and yesterday.
Healthcare workers who work directly with COVID-19 patients will be the first to be vaccinated in Indiana whenever a vaccine becomes available. We're getting a look at the vaccine distribution plan the state submitted to the CDC. It splits up distribution into 3 phases depending on how many doses of the vaccine are available. Following healthcare workers in the first phase will be people who are at high risk because of age, medical conditions, or those who live in long-term care facilities. If more doses of the vaccine become available, the state will move on to phase 2, distributing to detention centers, homeless facilities, and essential workers who cannot socially distance. In phase 3, the vaccine will be available to the general public.
Metro Police are investigating yet another homicide. The latest happened just after 4:30 this afternoon on Forest Manor Avenue. That's near 30th and Sherman Drive on the northeast side. Officers found a man dead with gunshot wounds. Indianapolis has already surpassed the most homicides ever in a year.
A new initiative to stop domestic violence will honor a fallen IMPD officer. The Law Enforcement Action to Halt Domestic Violence Against Men, Women, and Children, or LEAF, is named for Officer Breonna Taylor. She was shot and killed in April while responding to a domestic disturbance call. The initiative will work to identify domestic violence offenders who commit a crime with an illegal firearm, targeting them for federal prosecution. It will also provide support to domestic violence survivors, connecting them to services and resources. Did you know someone who witnessed a crash on I-69 yesterday? If so, investigators are trying to contact them. The crash happened on I-69 near mile marker 227 in Madison County at around 3:45 yesterday afternoon. If you have information, call Indiana State Police at this number. It's 1-800-527-4752. The crash killed the boys basketball coach at Cowan High School, 50-year-old Lee Ingalls.
This is not us going hunting somebody down. This is not kneeling on a neck. This is nothing like that.
Coming up for the first time, one of the officers at the center of the Breonna Taylor case publicly tells his side of the story.
At some point, we need to let our dancers beyond a layoff period. They may have to go on unemployment.
In the first weeks of the pandemic, WRTV spoke to the founder of Gregory Hancock Dance Theater, a professional dance company based in Carmel. Things were just shutting down in the state, and the future of the live performance arts industry looked bleak. Now, 7 months later, as the pandemic continues, performers are preparing to return to the stage. After several tough months of unemployment, the dancers are back in the studio, getting ready for their first show in this new normal. They are rehearsing and creating choreography 6 feet apart, sometimes using plexiglass to separate dancers. It's not only for the safety of the cast and crew, but the performance is about the impact of the pandemic on people. Dancers tell WRTV they hope the audience relates to the show on a personal level.
Moments of hope, moments of happiness, moments of sadness, and we just hope that people feel comfortable coming to the theater and supporting us, because it really is important for the longevity of our company.
You can see Gregory Hancock Dance Theater presents Dance for a New World Part 1 at the Tarkington this Thursday through Saturday. We have a link to more info and the ticket site on our website at WRTV.com.
It was a cloudy and cool day across central Indiana, but our temperatures are holding their own or even coming up a little bit. You're close to 60 degrees right now with some fog in the area in Bloomington. It's 54 in Indianapolis. We've got some of those thunderstorms in the area as we've been monitoring throughout the evening. I want to start you off with a bigger weather picture here and look back into Illinois, basically right along I-70, another line of thunderstorms, and this is moving right along the interstate system here and going to be moving its way into central Indiana as well. Of course, we already have thunderstorms ongoing mainly north of I-70. You can see there around Noblesville and Hamilton County, stretching up through Anderson, along I-69 there and into northwestern Delaware County. A few flashes of lightning, some heavier rainfall for you around Kokomo, Logansport, and just south of Peru. So here's a look at TrueCast midnight tonight. There's that line of thunderstorms, and as we go through the overnight hours to about 5 o'clock in the morning, we're still dealing with some rain. Looks like it might start to shift a little more to the south, which would be good because we need to get that from moving over the same locations here. As we get through the mid to late morning hours, we do finally start to dry things out. Kind of odd that we're talking about finally drying out after the very dry stretch we had. We just don't need a lot of rain in a short period of time. But that's what's coming our way here tonight. Tomorrow, though, by 11 o'clock, we've just got the clouds left over. As far as additional rainfall, here you go right along the Indianapolis I-70 area, where we could see maybe another 2 to 3 inches of rain out of those thunderstorms. So that's where flooding is most likely. If it does develop, of course, avoid those flooded roads, but it should subside fairly quickly as well. Once we get out of that band, it tapers off pretty quick. Only about 1/10 of an inch in Bloomington, about 1/2 inch additional rain in Lafayette. On our Wednesday forecast, we start off with the mild temperatures, still the rain in the morning, but then those temperatures will actually fall a little bit as we approach the lunch hour, back into the 50s before they recover into the middle 60s for the afternoon high. So tomorrow will be a little closer to average for this time of year, 65 for you in Muncie and 67 in Indianapolis. May see a little bit of sunshine late in the day. Then as we go into Thursday, how about some spring warmth there? A dry day and a high around 80 degrees. 7-day planning forecast, we're at 75 on Friday. Chance for a few showers and storms again with another system that will knock high temperatures down by about 20 degrees on Saturday. Just 54 the high. Another chance for some widespread rain, Mark, as we go into early next week.
Kyle, we appreciate it. Thank you. New tonight here, an ABC News and Louisville Courier-Journal exclusive interview with one of the officers involved in the Breonna Taylor case. ABC's Rena Roy reports that officer is publicly speaking for the first time as a judge rules that grand jurors in this case can also speak out.
Come out of Louisville.
In an ABC News and Louisville Courier-Journal exclusive, Officer Jonathan Mattingly, one of the officers at the center of the Breonna Taylor case, who fired his weapon 6 times, is speaking out for the first time after months of protests calling for justice.
What was your feelings watching all that unfold after this?
Mostly frustration. It's not a race thing like people want to try to make it to be. It's not. This is a point where we were doing our job. We return fire. This is not us going hunting somebody down. This is not kneeling on a neck. This is nothing like that.
Mattingly insisting that fatal incident in March that ended with Taylor dead from multiple gunshot wounds was instead about police procedure. This as a judge grants all 12 jurors permission to speak publicly about the proceedings, 3 weeks after the grand jury charged former officer Brett Hankison for endangering Breonna Taylor's neighbors, but there were no charges connected to Taylor's death. One juror releasing a statement saying the jury was not presented any charges other than the 3 wanton endangerment charges against Detective Hankison, adding they did not have homicide offenses explained to them. Officer Mattingly says he and the other officers announced themselves when they carried out that overnight search warrant.
We announced, we waited.
Investigators say Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, shot him in the leg. Walker telling investigators he fired because he didn't know who was bursting through the door. Attorney General Daniel Cameron has defended the grand jury's decision despite criticism, and in a statement says he disagrees with the judge's order to allow those jurors to speak publicly, but that he will not appeal it. Meantime, an attorney for Taylor's family says, quote, "We now know what we suspected. Cameron took the decision out of the grand jury's hands." Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
The Pacers will formally introduce their new head coach at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Nate Bjorkgren has no experience as an NBA head coach. He comes to the blue and gold after 2 successful seasons as an assistant with the Toronto Raptors, the 2019 NBA champions. Bjorkgren has been on the NBA sidelines since 2014. He was a head coach in the G League 4 years prior to that.
Indiana native Chase Briscoe won NASCAR's Xfinity Series race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway back in July. In a couple of weeks, he'll compete for the series title. And in tonight's Sports Extra Spotlight, our Brad Brown shows how Briscoe's 2021 season is about to get even bigger.
When they say Chase Briscoe, driver of the number 14 for Stewart-Haas Racing, how does that sound now that it's had a little bit of time to settle in for you?
It's still really surreal. I don't think it's truthfully even hit me yet. You know, we did a video shoot the other week and they were having me just say that it didn't feel real. So it's crazy to think, you know, for me growing up such a diehard Tony Stewart fan, to be driving that 14 car, you know, for me just to get a drive at Stewart-Haas was always a dream come true. But to be able to drive that 14 car that has so much history, especially connected to the state of Indiana and just everything Tony's done with that number, AJ Foyt, you know, all the legends. It's crazy to think that I'm going to be the next guy to be able to drive that, and hopefully I can add to that history.
What's your history with Tony? How far do you guys go back?
Him and my dad obviously have known each other for a really long time, and I was just always a diehard Tony Stewart fan because he would obviously I'd watch him on Sundays, but then you never knew if he's going to be at the local dirt track running the USAC race or a dirt late model or any of that. So for me, I was always kind of drawn to Tony, plus just knowing that, you know, him and my dad raced together, I always thought was really cool growing up. And, you know, I go home, I still have Tony Stewart, you know, blanket and stuff in my room. My cousin was texting me earlier today, giving me a hard time about how I still have a Tony Stewart number 20 stocking. I might have to change that this Christmas. So for me, I was always a diehard Tony fan, and it's just crazy to know that I'm going to be driving that 14 next year.
You won at Indy this summer, and clearly that was a special afternoon for you. Can you put that into words, just what that whole afternoon meant?
Yeah, that day is the day that I'll never forget. And, you know, I wish so badly that we could have had fans there that day. You know, that would have really just been icing on the cake. You know, for me, just to get to race at Indianapolis was so humbling and such an honor. You know, just to get to turn one lap there, it was something I always dreamed of getting to do. And
I do have one more question. Your NASCAR Cup debut will likely be at the Daytona 500. How about that? Now, what is that going through your head already?
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, just to think about watching that race every year and to get to experience that pre-race, you know, just how they do the pre-race, the flyover, that national anthem, all those things. To have that be my first Cup start, you know, at the biggest race of the year is it's a little nerve-wracking to think about, to be honest with you. So we'll go there and just treat it like any other race. You know, they all pay the same amount of points, so we just got to go there and try to do our best that we can and let the cards fall where they fall. But it's certainly crazy to think I'm going to get to you know, run the Daytona 500 in general, but for that to be my first ever Cup start is crazy to think about.
Congrats, Chase. Best of luck to you in November and, of course, in 2021 in that number 14 car. Good luck, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Chase will race for the Xfinity Series Championship on November 7th in Phoenix. The news at 11 continues after one more break.
Some rumbles of thunder may keep you up here a little bit longer, especially north of I-70. We've got those pockets of heavy rain and more rain lined up there along I-70 back into Illinois. Could see another 1 to 2 inches of rain. Some areas a little more than that, Amanda.
Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. Good Morning Indiana starts at 4:30. Good night.